always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending. All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, it is Season 7 of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. The Tim's Hockey Challenge is back in the Tim Hortons app with a chance to win daily and monthly prizes for picking players who you think will score. Plus, there's a chance to win a new Hyundai Tucson as part of our Season's End Grand Prize. Hey, Canadians, you can also try to keep a 7-day streak alive. How do you do that? Well, you do that by picking the players you think are going to score. If you do it 7 straight days, you win a coffee every day of the week. So check them out. timhortons.ca for a full list of prizes. Aptly so, Raymond, we have Vegas Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon, who's going to join us via cell phone, headed to the airport a little bit later in the podcast. Why? I think everybody knows why. Part of the Rasmus Andersson to the Vegas Golden Knights transaction to wrap up the weekend Sunday. So a lot going on last few days. Kiefer Sherwood traded on Monday by the Vancouver Canucks. I don't want you to dive into all of that. We'll do that coming up in headlines. But are you at all surprised at the sudden surge of activity, or is it just common sense, you think, with, you know, the Olympic roster freeze February 4th now looming?
It is it is that roster freeze, but I think once the one name goes off the board, there's not these unlimited lists of players out there. And so everybody gets a little fire under their feet, and they're like, wait a minute, there goes one guy. Now Sherwood goes, there's another. There's not a whole lot of players that are just sitting out there. And so if you're looking to acquire a defenseman and you were involved in talks, and there were like 4 or 5 teams around Andersson, then you're like, oh, he's gone. I better pivot fast. And so one move spurs more for sure. And it's been a busy couple of days.
It has been. All right, well, let's get into it. And I want you to analyze the trades from all corners here in the last few days. Our headlines are brought to you each episode by the Canadian Brewhouse. Hockey lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. Catch every game with beer specials. There's game day prizes, so much more, all at the best hockey house in town. You can see in store at thecanadianbrewhouse.com for details on what your local brewhouse is up to this hockey season. Okay, so again, Rasmus Andersson goes to the Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday. Zach Whitecloud, veteran defenseman, big guy, can move the puck. He can skate, comes back to the Calgary Flames along with a first in 2027. Conditional second-round pick in 2028, which can become a first if the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup this year. And they also get a defenseman, a prospect from UND by the name of Abram Wiebe. Now, where this thing kind of got a bit snarly, as you know, Ray, over the course of the days leading up to the official trade on Sunday, was the belief that Andersson was willing to at least engage in extension talks, specifically with the Boston Bruins. Right? And then Sunday morning, as Craig Conroy, the GM of the Flames, acknowledged in his media avail, Sunday morning, Claude Lemieux represents Rasmus Andersson, told the Flames, nope, he's not going to sign with anyone at this point. So that basically slams the door on Boston and made it easier, I guess, for Conroy to go, okay, well, here are the offers that I've been dealing with for the last number of days, maybe even months. And to me, Vegas looks the best. I mean, that's basically right how it broke down. So you put your GM cap on. How well did Calgary do, or should have they done better in this trade?
It's easy to say they should have done better, because that as soon as there's a deal, there's always this an instant analysis around the league for people that cover it about, did they get enough? Did they rob the other team? If there was a better offer, Craig would have brought it to Andersson to try and push that over the line. But Andersson, you have to understand, Andersson has a no movement clause or no trade clause. So it doesn't matter if somebody else offered him 3 firsts and he doesn't want to go there, then it doesn't matter, right? Like, you know that better than anybody. Yeah. There's so much of this stuff that gets talked about that's just noise. It's just air. And the GM sitting there and he knows what's real and what's noise, right? And so could they have done better? Well, obviously not, because
Yeah.
if they could have, they would have. Like that's pretty clear. Like it's not like he said, "Oh, that guy's going to give me a better prospect than a non-condition or a non-protected first." He didn't have it,
Yeah.
so he made the best deal he could. And like Dregs, this goes back to the summer, and there were a couple of times this deal probably could have been done, but Anderson didn't want to go anywhere. He didn't
Yeah.
want to go to the teams that were involved, and as
LA being one,
you know,
Columbus, right? Yeah.
right, yeah. And so as he made that clear to Conroy then and the Flames that I'm going to wait till the deal that I want shows up. To his credit, he had a great first half of the year.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
great. And so he did his part, and now he gets to go to a place that he probably wanted to go to,
Right.
like in his 2 or 3 teams that he wanted to go to all along. And uh, is it enough? Yep, you bet it is, because that's the deal he got.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're a fan of the game that Rasmus Andersson plays because inevitably, and maybe most of it was coming from the Calgary market. I don't know. I'm not trying to attribute the naysayers or those who are critical of Anderson to Calgary specifically. But you know what happens, right? Trade comes down, and then everybody wants an opinion, and everybody has an opinion on what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are.
Mhm.
When you think of Rasmus Andersson, what are the Vegas Golden Knights getting in this player?
They're getting a legit top 4 player. They're getting a top 3D. In my mind, he moves the puck. He's certainly you know he's a better player than Zach Whitecloud, and
Yeah.
Zach Whitecloud will do fine in Calgary. He'll be a good player for them, but Calgary's building their way right. Vegas is trying to win
Yeah.
like yesterday. And so Anderson gives them a puck mover, somebody that can skate and move the puck. I did the Toronto game there last week, and you could see where he fits in on that D. The one thing they've been, of all the injuries and things that Vegas has dealt with, like lots of teams, but the one thing they had not been able to address was the loss of Alex Pietrangelo.
Hmm.
Pietrangelo was an enormous piece of their team, and I saw him actually in Vegas. He's doing great. He looks great. He said health wise, he didn't really have a choice, that he had to, it was time to go.
Yeah.
Um, Anderson fills a lot of what Petrangelo could do. He's not Alex Petrangelo, but he's a legit top four
Right.
guy. Those top 2 pairs in Vegas are significantly better.
Mm.
He'll give them another shooter on their power play, like their second power play, maybe. Um, I I think he's a really good player. He's also a complete pain in the ass. And when he can play, he's like, like he's always got something to say.
Yeah.
And he's like he's a thorn. And I think he'll fit really well in Vegas.
All right. Right. Like soon after the Vegas trade of acquiring Rasmus Anderson from the Calgary Flames, Rob Taub posted a tweet, which Ryan has just forwarded to me, listing all the players that the Golden Knights have traded for at the deadline, or even weeks ahead of the NHL trade deadline. But just listen to this list. So it begins with Mark Stone, then with the Ottawa Senators blockbuster trade, Alec Martinez, Chandler Stevenson, Robin Leonard, Nick Cousins, Jack Eichel, of course, Thomas Hurdle, Noah Hannafin, Jonathan Quick, Teddy Bluger, Ivan Barbashev, Riley Smith, and now Rasmus Anderson. That's quite a list for an organization, a franchise that hasn't been in existence in the NHL for all that long.
Yeah. Where was Petrangelo on that list?
Yeah, yeah, he should be. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Like
Although I guess
there's,
technically he was a signing, right? So
yeah,
this is
yeah, I
traded
guess, I
for.
guess
Yeah,
they, they are never out of the game. If you look at, they
ever.
have, since their inception, I saw something, they have one of their first round picks still in their system. since they became a team. Every other first round pick has gone somewhere. Now, Pacioretty was for Nick Suzuki. Oh,
Yeah.
Nick Suzuki's pretty damn good player. But my
Yeah.
point is they swing, and they swing for what they need. And they've had a clear vision there since they've started. And it always, always, always starts at the top. That Kelly
Yeah.
McCrimmon has, I'm sure, he'll tell us this when he's on later on, but he's got the go ahead from ownership to
Yes.
build the best team that he can. And it was the same when George McPhee um, was running the show, and then George passed on to Kelly, and they have not missed.
No.
They haven't missed a step, right? It doesn't always work, but it never means you back up. And I quite admire the way that they have the go ahead to do what they do.
Yeah. And we'll check in with Kelly, as you say here in the episode, but you wonder if they're done. And it's a safe thing to wonder, because you're like, all right, well, see where they're at in the standings, but inevitably, if they can improve their team, they're going to find a way to do that.
Well, I do think it's important. So like that 28 first rounder,
Yeah.
that kid's 15 years old.
Yeah.
And so they're where teams are trying to build a sustainable window elsewhere. Like we're going to get into Kiefer Sherwood. I mean, the Canucks are trying to build
Yeah.
now a sustainable window that Vegas is already in. They're trying to extend their window. They'll worry
Right.
about that later. There'll be a bill to pay at some point, but
Yeah.
right now, like I watched them the other night. That's a really good team, and
Mhm.
they're going to be problems if they can get Aiden Hill back and running. Like they need their goaltending to straighten out, and if it can, I think they're going to be a problem.
Okay, Kiefer Sherwood, yes, to the San Jose Sharks. And again, the critics out there, why now? Should have waited, all of that stuff. All right. Look, Jim Rutherford has been around the game for decades. Patrick Galvin has worked closely with Jimmy for several years now, the general manager, of course, the Vancouver Canucks. When you throw in the additional second round pick, which is what Mike Greer and the Sharks did. So now you get 2 second round picks and an experienced American League defenseman. I mean, you have to have the experience and the knowledge and the gut feel to know that's enough. That's enough. We're not going to risk injury. That's enough. We're getting a fair return from the San Jose Sharks. So I was good with that trade. I thought they did fine, and I understood the timing of sending Sherwood to the Sharks.
I do. I don't think you should ever say what you hope to get for a player. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that is in most cases, the media doesn't know what you should get anyway.
No.
They don't, because they're never in on these calls. We're not in on a call. Now you might have inside dregs because you talk to general managers, but nobody's telling me, yeah, we're going to get a first for Kiefer Sherwood. And so
Yeah.
if you don't, then it becomes, it feeds upon itself. They're like, the market out there might have brought them a first rounder. Well, what do you think they've been doing? They've been talking to the other general managers all
Yeah,
the
it's not that
since
easy.
this whole saga started, and they probably have a good feel there wasn't a first there.
Mhm.
And if there's not a first, and San Jose, who's been accumulating picks, now can move out picks
Yeah.
without damaging their pick supply. And I think that's really important. Chicago's done it. Pittsburgh's done it. And those teams are almost in the position where they can start trading off excess draft picks for players that can help them now. They're
Mhm.
in. That's part of building, and that's really the road Vancouver's got to go to. Now, San Jose is getting a player with limitless energy. He is. I call him an against the grain scorer. Like there won't be anything happening, and then through his work, Sherwood
Yeah.
gets the puck back, and then he can really shoot it. So he can shoot it off the rush. He's not a playmaker. He's not going to make a lot of give and go plays, but man, he is a relentless player. I think
Yeah.
that's a good trade for San Jose. I think the 2 seconds for Vancouver are a really good start, given piggybacking on what they had to do with Quinn Hughes, where they end up with another first. So they've got as it sits now, they've got 4 picks in the first 50 of the draft, and that's pretty clear. That's what they're trying to accomplish.
We haven't had a chance to discuss the New York Rangers letter that
Right.
was distributed on Friday by Chris Drury, of course, head of hockey operations for the New York Rangers. He authored a new game plan of change, telling fans his moves are a quote unquote retool, not a quote unquote rebuild. Stealing a page from history, right? The old days of Jeff Gorton management. Glenn Sather was titled on that letter back in the day. I I guess we shouldn't be surprised at the direction. I was a bit surprised by the fact that they went the letter route again, messaging the fans, okay, stick with us. Don't bail on us here. We have a plan and we're going to execute this plan. What was the first thing you thought of when you saw that letter posted?
They lead the league in letters. That's 3 of them now because you're like, after a while, you're like, holy smokes, man, they gotta. Well, at least I got to give them credit. They didn't have the same person writing the letter as the Buffalo Bills when they fired their head coach and had a spelling mistake in the first line. I mean, does anybody
Ah,
spell check? I mean, come
I
on.
mean, come on.
Jesus. They didn't even get out of the starting blocks and they had a spelling
Crazy.
letter or spelling mistake. So I was surprised there was a letter. Uh, Chris Drury is notoriously media shy. He does not get
Very
out in front
shy.
of the media.
Yeah.
And so I guess this is like a sit down, except you don't have to take any questions. You just
Yeah.
say, this is our path forward. It was last year they put out to all the teams that they were open for business with some of their veterans, and that led to the trade of Truba and the trade of Kreider, and you know it seems like a long time ago, but it was just in the last year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they tell Artemi Panarin they're not going to re-sign him. I mean, it will be a new time in New York. They do not have a lot of young guys right now. Don't have a lot of prospects that are just outside the NHL either. So
Right.
the trades I suspect they'll be making will be more future oriented than they are for now.
Yeah, and to illustrate that point, so you've got Panarin, Zibanejad, Miller, all with no move clauses, right? And Zibanejad and Miller have years left on their contracts. They'll
Right.
be interested in Mika Zibanejad. He's having a terrific year. Artemi Panarin, of course, they'll be interested in Artemi Panarin. But how short is that list going to be? I would think he would want to chase a Stanley Cup. Trying to find his agent, Paul Theophanos, is like Snuffleupagus. I mean, this guy,
Yeah.
he just stays under the radar and fiercely represents his clients, and Artemi Panarin is one of them. Then you've got Vinny Trocheck, Ray, who I think you're a fan of, right? He's got a 12-team no trade. Carson Soucy, because of always a thin market on defense, also a 12-team no trade clause. And we're starting to see Vinny Trocheck's name out there more and more. Could be just media speculation, but when you post a letter like they did again on Friday, you have to be willing to take those calls. And undoubtedly, like Trocheck would be a good fit on a lot of playoff contending or playoff teams, correct?
Yes. I think he's totally distracted this year. He is not anywhere near the player that he should be. Um,
Interesting.
it's like all the noise has kind of got to him. It feels like I don't know him
Maybe.
at all, but I see a lot of myself in the game that he plays, and I could get distracted by
Mm.
things I shouldn't have been worried about. He's got a lot of responsibility there. He's not had a good year.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Miller has not had a good year. Those two guys are tied at the hip. We know the story of them back to when they were kids. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I do I do think this is heavy on him. He just doesn't have the same zip that he normally would. The other thing you got to remember with the no trade, I guess, for people to think of is you can give a team an okay, that you will go to team A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But those teams know that you have no leverage. You were talking about earlier, did they get enough in the trade for in Vegas? Did they get
Yeah,
enough for
yeah,
Rasmus Andersson? Well, Vegas knows that there's only a certain amount of teams Anderson's going to go to.
right.
If Panarin's going to go to any team, I mean, I can think of a couple right off the top that, I mean, it's just noise to say them, but
Mhm.
um, they know that he's given the okay to go to that team. You're not giving them a great return. You don't
No,
have to. You'd like to get the player, and I mean, Drury's on his back foot with the guys
yeah,
with the no trades. The thing with Panarin that's most different, of course, is that if you don't get a deal done, then he leaves for free
free.
because you've already said that he's not coming back, and that
Yeah.
would be a tough one. He's led them in scoring 6 years in a row, and he could really, really help a team that is close, I believe.
Okay, one more quick thought on the Rangers, because you know how this stuff manifests, right? So, the letter is out. Clearly, they're more or less in sell mode. That's what a retool is a part of, but it's not always about the obvious players. So I'm thinking of Braden Schneider, a young right shot D man. Um, Teams are going to call. Why wouldn't you call? You'd call about Adam
Mhm.
Fox. You'd call about Schneider. You'd call about every player. I mean,
Right.
there's no such thing as no until Drury says no, a hard no.
Mhm.
Where would Braden Schneider fit into that group for you? Part of the move forward? Is that what he is?
Well, again, without knowing their system up and down, they don't have a lot of young players. I did that game in Boston last week. They lost 10-2.
Yeah.
He was not good. Like that
He
was,
hasn't had a very good year. Yeah.
and again, when Trouba leaves and Fox is hurt, um, there's more expectation on
Yeah.
Braden Schneider. And uh, I, I, I don't think clearly he wasn't ready for it because his game has gone the other way. It's not it's
Mm.
not been it's not been very good for a player that seems like he was on the climb.
Yeah.
I do think though after a few years in the league you start to get an NHL picture of what a player is going to be. And I believe the thought was there was more offense there, and
Hmm.
I don't think there's going to be. That's as I watch him, I don't think
Okay.
that he's going to provide much in the way of offense. I think he can be a good first pass. I think he can jump up and support the play. I don't think he's really creative with the puck, and I believe there was a thought that maybe that's what he could evolve to, and he may get
Right.
there. But
Maybe.
you watch enough games, and you start to see maybe a more complete picture of what the player might be.
Yeah. Every general manager, every head coach thinks that they're the answer though, right? If
Sure.
there's opportunity to pluck a kid like that, maybe on a slight overpay, whatever that looks like, you do it because he's a right shot. There's history of
What
him
would he be?
being a good player.
Would he be 24? Like
Yeah,
he's young,
24. Yeah, he's young.
like he,
Yeah.
so there's plenty of time. But even
Yeah.
if the offense doesn't come, there's another level to Schneider that it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
not
yeah.
there right now. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you play on a team that's got all this pressure and noise around you, everybody feels it in their own way. And
Yeah.
the expectation falls more to certain players. And this year, with the injury to Fox in particular, because they'd already traded
Mhm.
Trouba, there was a lot on him. And it felt like there was too much there for him to handle at the start.
All right, one more in the Canadian Brewhouse headlines. Matthew Tkachuk returned from adductor and sports hernia surgery, which he had in August. So Monday night, his first game back. He hasn't played since Game 6, the cup clinching game in June. Other than getting rocked by Vinny Desharnais,
Yeah.
he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. Obviously, he's going to need some time to get up to game pace and league pace and all of that. But what a wild one! Now the Sharks winning
Mhm.
4-1, but we don't often see the old-fashioned goalie fights, do we? With Bob Bobrovsky and Nedeljkovic. I mean, talk about two unwilling combatants, despite the fact that Bobrovsky came down the length of the ice to get into it. But I chuckled. I absolutely guffawed watching these two guys try and fight. I mean, they were there in spirit, but the execution was lacking a little bit.
Well, I will never evaluate anyone's fighting technique. Like who that was that's not for me to do.
Right.
What I do laugh always with the goalies because they've got the uppers on, right?
Yeah.
Their protection. Like they can't reach. No matter
Nah.
how they're trying to throw, they can't reach. I mean, the best goalie fight I can ever remember is Felix Potvin and Ron Hextall, and they were
Brutal.
throwing them. And
Yeah.
back then, the chest protectors were a lot smaller. And I think partway through the fight, Hexy probably realized that Potvin can fight, and it's a bad time I think to find out. But Nedeljkovic, he said that I saw his interview after it. He said that partway through, he was like, he had like this is really going on
He
because
was
it's
like
all one thing
backing
to
up,
talk about.
like leaning
and
out because he didn't want to get
and
tagged.
and I thought I don't know, it's so entertaining to watch these guys fight. It seems like nobody could possibly get hurt. I guess they
Yeah.
could, but there's so much protection. You're like, I don't know. And you see the people go nuts as soon as Bob comes down the ice. Look out, here it comes. And
Yeah.
um, one thing I will say about Tkachuk,
Yeah.
that example where he got run over by DRNA, that's exactly what a difference between skating and training by yourself to the
Mm.
unpredictability of a game. So when he's training, he's bracing for all the contact. He knows where the contact's coming. He knows
Yeah.
where the pressure points are. And he was standing up and a guy way bigger than him was coming the other way. And like that's just part of getting back into the game. That's a really good example of what bag skating and training does as opposed to getting right into the mix.
Real quickly here. I mean, obviously, where Florida sits in the standings, they're at risk of not making the playoffs. Is your concern growing? Not you're not invested, but I mean,
But
it seems it's coming down to the last 2-3 games of the regular season. But it's their playoff run and their Stanley Cup run is clearly in jeopardy.
I think it's in danger for sure. Like one team that's really thrown a crimp into things for me is Boston. Like I just did not see the Bruins responding this way with their roster. I thought they were really going to have trouble scoring goals, and man, they've been really good. Um, as much as Florida's will start to get healthier, the one piece is Barkov is not going to be back, right? And that's you cannot wallpaper over that. That
No,
is an enormous loss for them, and just a brutal thing. Like in training camp, you're not even doing anything, and now he's gone for the year.
brutal.
I think that one more than any will be the one that they stub their toe on.
Yeah, and no different than our guest Kelly McCrimmon. Bill Zito, the general
Yeah.
manager of the Florida Panthers, isn't going to stand pat. So something will come the way with cap space. Whatever Zito can utilize, he will do
Yeah.
that. All right, those are your headlines. Thank you to the Canadian Brewhouse. All right, great to be joined now by the general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, Kelly McCrimmon, on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. And Crim, it feels like we should have had you on this podcast a number of times to this point. Earlier in the pod, Ray and I talked about the list of significant trades and signings that you've made to this point of the run for the Golden Knights. So yet another trade for Vegas. Walk us through how trades of this magnitude come together, because it's not something that happens in hours. It's probably months in the making. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that people misunderstand a little bit how long it takes or why they happen. We made the trade on in the midst of a 7-game winning streak. If it was a 7-game winning streak or a 7-game losing streak, it doesn't really impact the process because, it's a way bigger picture than that. Of course, fans, are always living in the now and expect that maybe that was a reaction to, a team struggling or whatever. But we've had Rasmus Andersson going back to the off season. We had discussions with Calgary at that time. It didn't work out. And, as the season went on, he was playing as well as he was. My understanding is they had not had contract discussions. It was, more and more apparent that Rasmus was going to be moved. And from then, it was more about the when, because when you look at all those Olympic rosters, there's really, my prediction, there's really only one player, that high-end player that's going to the Olympics, and that, I think kind of changed the timetable for Calgary. They didn't want to risk injury with Rasmus being at the Olympics, and that's why I think he was the first big trade to happen.
Kelly, when you're starting a discussion, is there? I guess it's different for every deal, but are there points where it looks like, okay, this is a dead end, and then would you circle back sometime later just to try and keep the lines open? Like, how often does a deal work smoothly as opposed to stops and starts that finally make to a deal?
Yeah, very, very rare that it goes that smoothly. There's back and forth with negotiations, and then there's other teams. And, this one had a lot of twists and turns. There was times where we felt we were giving Calgary what they were looking for, what they'd asked for. And there was times where we felt there's a lot of other teams involved. And really it was Sunday where, it looked like it was going to happen that day. So that's when you really get to work at the end to try to get it completed. And we were able to do that. So yeah, Rasmus had a lot of interest, I think, from both conferences. And, we paid a big price. We really like Zach Whitecloud a lot, and the picks are important for what Calgary is doing there. So, I think a trade where both teams probably will come out of it pretty well.
I did your game in Toronto against Toronto last week. Really entertaining. I don't know if you guys love those games, but man, we sure love them. They're really good to watch. You got Aiden Hill back in that game, and I guess a goalie would like to ease his way in, and then he just got peppered right out of the box, and then he was great after. How much does he mean for you guys? You haven't had him most of the year, and it's been kind of a revolving door in your goal. Now you get your big guy back, and that must change the outlook a little bit, right?
Well, it does. And again, when you talk about the broader perspective that you have to have in evaluating your team, Aiden missed 38 games. So that's your starting goaltender. And when he was injured early in the season against Carolina, Carter Hart still wasn't eligible to return to play. We had 18 games where we used Kiefer Sherwood and Carl Lindbaum, who were our goaltenders a year ago in Henderson in the American Hockey League. And that's a big ask for two goaltenders that don't have a lot of NHL experience. Akira has been, really good for us. We've been very fortunate to have him because he has been healthy right through. He's got great numbers. I think our players got a lot of confidence in him. So, then Carter Hart got hurt right after Christmas. So it's been a revolving door, as you say. We've been, trying to make sure we've got two guys healthy. And it's really good to back to your point you're making. It's really good to have Aiden back in our lineup. I think his size, his presence, his pedigree gives our guys a lot of confidence playing in front of them, and hopefully we can have some success with them.
Kelly McCrimmon, General Manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, joining us on the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. Just to revisit your blue line overall, Kelly. So now you've got Theodore Hannafin and Rasmus Andersson just acquired as puck movers, three strong puck-moving defensemen. So how big of a boost does that give in terms of balance to the overall look of your defensive core?
Well, we went into the year knowing that we had no Alex Pietrangelo, so that was big blow to our team, to our blue line, we were, confident that we were going to be able, that we would be fine. And what was really apparent to me when you watched our team, we had Noah Hannafin got injured on opening night. He missed 6 weeks. Shea Theodore got injured before Christmas. He missed, I think, pretty much a month. When one of those players was missing, we just didn't have the ability to move the puck as well, which really affects your team speed, which really affects your offense. And I just, you can improve your team in different ways, but I really felt that another puck mover back there. I really like, the work of, the guys we haven't mentioned, Braden McNabb, what he means to our team. Jeremy Lauzon has really been well defined and played an important role for us. Ben Hutton has had a really good year for us, being in the lineup more regularly. And Caden Korzak has really emerged. It's in part his emergence that allows us to consider doing something with Zach Whitecloud. And then with Rasmus, the other thing that I like about him is he can make a play. And you get to a point in playoffs when you're playing against really good teams and series are tight, where you need some playmakers on your team, and we have, I think a number of those. But this gives us another one, and he's played huge minutes. It's going to be different for him here. I mean, it just always is when you go to a team. But he can make a play, and that's something that we'll need when we get into the playoffs.
Kelly, you mentioned about moving the puck, and you talk about how it affects your offense. And as a forward, you'd go crazy when the puck always comes into your feet, and you're like, Jesus, like, you're right. So like that quick up is such an important thing. But it brings me to a question about a guy you've had a long relationship with. I'm fascinated watching Mark Stone play. And more fascinated watching him play beside Jack Eichel, because they're so different in the way that they play. The other day, I was watching Mark come back to the bench, and of course, his hair's all over the place. He goes to change his gloves, one falls off the boards, his stick falls over, and he's so good. Like, he's just so good. And I'm interested on your perspective as you watched Mark in particular grow from Brandon all the way through to the player he is now. I don't think people know, like, I think he's got 9 goals in 10 games, or 10 goals in 11 games. He's on an amazing run right now.
Yeah, Marcus had a great year, and as you touch on, he'd be the player I've had the longest relationship with. We drafted him in the Western Hockey League in Brandon. He played 4 years for the Wheat Kings. He was our captain there, and it's interesting sometimes when you watch a game. You use the word fascinating. Just if you watch nothing else in the game but just him, just the way he can anticipate the play, and his stick is just
so
good in terms of stripping pucks and his hockey sense. So with Jack, they haven't played much together till this year. So this is sort of the first time that they've spent as lengthy a stretch together as what they are right now. Traditionally, Jonathan Marchessault played with Jack, and traditionally Mark Stone played most of the Chandler Stevenson. So they've been terrific. You were at the game, the 6-5 game. You saw how dominant Jack Eichel was in that game. I think he's having a tremendous year. Mark missed 6 weeks with an injury as well. He was fantastic leading up to the injury, and it completely changed our team when he was out of the lineup, and then when he returned. So he's sort of, I've always referred to him for our organization, he's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the emotional leader on the ice. I don't know if you happen to watch his celebration when Jack Eichel scored the overtime winner. You can't even fathom like what the heck goes through a guy's mind to want to do what he did there. But he gets excited, and it's contagious, right? He has that type of impact on our team. All right. So you look at the players when they cross the 30-year age bracket, they start to decline, and Mark is playing at an extremely high level.
He really is. Last one for me, Kelly. So Mitch Marner returns obviously Friday to Toronto as the Golden Knights face the Maple Leafs again. Does he prepare any differently for this one? I know he's focused on Boston, the next game, all of that. But as an organization, do you prepare differently for a game like that? Does he? How do you see this playing out?
Well, there'll be a lot around the game, so definitely the organization pays attention, and clearly Mitch is going to have that in his mind, more so when we get through the next game. But I think that we were somewhat fortunate in some respects that the first game was in Vegas, and there was quite a bit around that game as well with the Toronto fans that traveled to the game, so we probably got a little bit of a taste. It's disappointing for me when fans do that to players, and again, I'm not just speaking with Mitch. We've had here recently, Nick Waugh was in that night, Ray. You were at the game. We do a beautiful tribute for him, what he meant to our organization. We had Nick Hagen the week before. To me, it's a real show of respect from an organization to the player. It's a real opportunity for our fans to show their appreciation one more time. And, that for me, Toronto themselves have experienced it with John Tavares as their classier player in the NHL than John Tavares, to go back to Long Island and get that type of reception. We have in Buffalo with Jack Eichel as well, and as classy a player as there is in the league. So those things are out of our control, out of the players' control, and it'll be what it is. But Mitch played a lot of great hockey in Toronto. I hope that's not overlooked.
Yeah. Nah, did he ever? All right, Kelly. Well, we really appreciate it. Again, on your way to the airport as the Vegas Golden Knights make their way east. Thanks for doing this, and all the best down the road.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.
You betcha. Good luck, Kelly. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, Kelly McCrimmon, General Manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, our guest this week on the Rate and Dregs Hockey Podcast. And I don't know, where do you want to start as we look back? Do you want to start with that and the expected? I don't know if it's going to be a welcoming party. I don't think it will be on Friday for Mitch Marner, but they'll have a video tribute, right? I mean, he did, to Kelly's point, do a lot of great things in a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform. But Ray, you've been down this road before as a player. That's one of those games you just want to get over with, right? Get into Toronto, best case scenario, you take your 2 points and you get on to the next one. Is it that simple?
Well, in theory, sure, but I'm sure we'll hear it at one point. Oh, it's just a game. The noise is outside the game. Once the game starts, it's just hockey. It just won't be. There's really nothing that's super fun about going back like that. In particular, with a player with such a outsized importance in the last decade there. And that's the way Marner was. And there'll be people that'll be pissed off at him. There'll be people that'll be curious to see what he looks like in a Vegas uniform. There'll be people that will be happy to see him back, and they wish him well. It's always certain guys, they could go back and it doesn't, like Wendell Clark went back to Toronto. Man, it's a hero's welcome. Wendell had a special bond, right, with the fans. Like that, just like not everybody has the same exit, and exits are messy for the most part. And I think this will be a conflicted one for sure. I mean, that's what I would think. I am interested when earlier on when Kelly was talking about making a trade and how many curves and turns there are in a deal, and there's other teams involved, and it's not just one call. It's I like hearing how they have to go through their process, I guess, to get to just get the deal close to the finish line, and then they can try and put the finishing touches on it.
Yeah, and you and I aren't the most patient men out there. Imagine sitting in the office as general manager, and in this case with McCrimmon, he had no choice. He had to just see how it was going to play out in Calgary, right? He knew that the player wanted to go to Vegas and very likely he's going to extend. We're talking about Rasmus Andersson, but you don't control Calgary's side of things. So there's no guarantee they're going to exhaust their process and then get a call Sunday morning. Yeah, okay, let's close this deal. I don't think I'd be very good at that part of it. I think
waiting around would be hard, because what about when you get the call and the deal is somewhere else?
Stings.
I think if you're a manager, like if I were a manager, my assistant GM would be a bit of a contrarian that thinks a little
Right.
different than me, and
Sure.
somebody that has a different demeanor. Like, I think that's really important. I do believe there needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
Like just for those moments where the pressure gets really intense, that somebody could give you a nuanced view of the same thing. I think that's really important.
All right. Before we bring in Chris Abunia to take us through the Tim's Hockey Challenge, right?
Oh yeah, you can't get there fast enough.
No,
can you?
can't get there fast enough. But before we do that, I want to promote something that's coming up on TSN and TSN.ca. And anybody who follows on social media would have seen the clip from Ottawa Senators goaltender Linus Ullmark, who recently sat down with TSN's Claire Hanna. And man, this is an emotionally driven interview, almost 30 minutes in its entirety. And that entire interview will be posted. And Linus, who we know has been on personal leave, great that he's back on the ice. It seems that his return to the Ottawa crease is imminent, but an absolutely open, emotional, and very candid account of his mental health struggles and everything that he's been through, including the salacious, ridiculous rumors of late that he and his family had to deal with. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be posted everywhere, but I do want to encourage anybody who's familiar with the story, the backstory, to check it out on tsn.ca. That's coming up. All right, let's bring in Zuby, Ray, for the Tim's Hockey Challenge. And I'm not going to lie, I was feeling a little vulnerable going into last Thursday's selections. I had slumped a little bit. I'd kind of dropped the ball. There was an 0 for 3 in there, which I hate. But
gee, you had
then I
1 0
rallied.
for 3. Too bad.
Yeah, well,
I've got a string of them going. You know the part of the promo that if you get a winner 7 days in a row, you get a coffee.
yeah.
I will never drink coffee again at this rate. I'm in Rashog territory.
Don't
They
feel
might start
bad.
taking coffees away from you, Ray. I don't know.
How does it look, Zuby?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, Drake's here. I think we might also have to start changing to maybe we need to keep track just week to week or month to month to give the rest of us a chance to catch Dregs here.
Yeah,
have a little sub competition going on. Dregs went 2 for 3 on the strength of Austin Matthews and Scott Lawton out of that third bucket. Nice pick in there, Dregs. And the rest of us were like my son and I sharing a sour cream glaze. It was donuts all the way across the board for the rest of us. Ray 0 for 3, Shager 0 for 3, Zuby 0 for 3.
Jeez.
So Dregs is out in front now. He's got a 7. He's got a lead of 7 on you, Ray. He's got 28 for 75, 700 points. Ray's got 21. Shager's got 14. I run the account, so I'm playing every day. But my percentages, I had a 30% connect rate for a while. I'm down to 27. It's slipping every day. So there's the unquestioned leader in the Tim's Hockey Challenge right now is Mr.
Still early.
Gregor. So
Still
I don't know.
early,
I don't know what
fellas.
we're gonna do to have to level the playing field here, but it's a whitewash right now.
Let's get to work on this. This is outrageous.
Yeah.
Just sell some hope. That's all. Just believe you. Have
I'm
a chance.
retooling, Drakes. I'm
You're
retooling.
You guys each need to write a letter.
Yeah. I see Jordan Spence in that third bucket again today. Ooh, I don't know. Might go back to that.
No matter what happens, that was the greatest pick of all time.
Of
I'll
all
always
time.
have that.
Highlight of the year, no doubt about it, because we were willing to berate you for that pick.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, never forget Jordan Spence. That's right.
No. All right, Zuby. Thank you,
Thanks,
buddy.
guys.
All right, looking forward to another run at the Tim's Hockey Challenge, and we'll revisit on Thursday. You're stationed at home for a bit here, Ray, right?
Yep.
Like basically right up to the Olympic break. Clear sailing.
No. I'm
Okay.
till
All right.
January 31st.
All right.
And then I head to Tampa for the outdoor game for the Winter Classic, and I have of good fortune. I have 3 games in Tampa a day apart. So I'm in Tampa for a week, and then I come home for 2 days, and then I go to Arizona to play golf for 4. So
Why wouldn't you?
it's the Olympic break.
Yeah.
Nobody thought I should broadcast it, so I'm going to play golf. And so I got to go down there. And by the way, though, Drakes, this next 2 weeks, I'm in training camp.
Oh,
I can't go to a golf trip and swing the club 500 times. I'll be bent
so
over,
you would
can't
like
touch
you in
my
a
toes.
dome? Are you like
No, we
swatting
have
balls?
at our range, we have heated stalls. So
Doesn't get
starting
better.
today, I'm gonna just the wedge today though. I gotta be careful here. Like I don't want to get out there and come back like, doubled over. So 50 wedges today, I think.
I watched a Mo Norman video this morning. Hit it where you aim. Hit it where you aim.
It's the easiest thing. Horizontal, what is it? Horizontal drop, vertical drop, horizontal pull. And it's amazing. If you're a golf fan, look up Mo Norman. He's wearing this big, colorful sweater. And the pros say he was the best ball striker of that era.
Yeah.
It was amazing. He had some challenges, but apparently but just the way he talks about it, to him, he's like, it was just the easiest thing. Just,
you don't have to be a golfer or even have an appreciation for golf to get into the rabbit hole of the Mo Norman videos, right? Because he was such an eccentric, eclectic, and respected, player of the game, man. Phenomenal. All right, Raymond, we got to fly here, buddy.
Okay, well, I hope everybody's good. We'll talk to you later in the week, and hope everybody's well. Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you to Kelly McCrimmon, GM of the Vegas Golden Knights, for joining us in this episode. For our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, and thank you to the Canadian Brew House. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.